I just find the whole thing ironic. It's super hypocritical. And these failed politicians, I'm going to make them start talking about the real things that are destroying California, not the things that they want to talk about.
Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco on with us at 6 last night, responding to State Superintendent of Public Instruction Tony Thurmond. This after Thurman called for an investigation into Bianco's viral video endorsement of Donald Trump while in his sheriff's uniform.
Thurman's campaign for governor throwing down the gauntlet today, responding to our interview with Bianco and saying to the sheriff, let's debate. Well, we can host that debate here if and when it happens. First, Tony Thurman, the superintendent of public instruction, joins us live right now via Zoom. Good to see you. Why do you want to debate him, and what do you hope to accomplish?
Thanks for having me on. First of all, it's clear that the sheriff doesn't have a deep understanding of how you get things done in the state. And he's advocating for someone who tried to overthrow our nation. And to me, I think that is a discredit to the people of law enforcement and to the citizens of this nation. And I think it's important if the sheriff wants to be governor, I think that there ought to be a debate to talk about how you create a real vision for the state. And I've helped to create jobs and create safety for the state. And I'd like the opportunity to debate the sheriff on the conversation of who should be the next governor.
And you're talking about a one-on-one debate? Because we know there's a lot of other people that have already announced that they're running for governor. Tony Atkins, Eleni Kounalakis, Betty Yee, statewide elected officials. Are they invited too, or is it just you and Sheriff Bianco?
Well, I'm happy to debate any of them, but Sheriff Bianco is the only person who's come out and endorsed someone, one, who was a felon. He did so in his uniform, which violates the law, and he is advocating for someone who is an insurrectionist, and I think that represents a threat, not just to California, but to our very nation. And so in calling for the debate at this time, I'm reacting to the immediate actions of Sheriff Bianco that took place this week along those lines.
Well, we should also point out that we asked him if he in fact was going to be running for governor, and he said he's looking into it, something that he is considering, but no official announcement yet like you are. Now, getting back to this investigation, though, when you're calling for that, have you any indication that Attorney General Rob Bonta is going to actually look into this?
You know, we're looking into all the options about how an investigation might take place, but having been an elected official for more than 16 years, there's certain things that you know. One is you never use public resources in any political way. There are many places in our law that speak to that. The Hatch Act happens to be one of them, and it seems pretty clear that in this case, Sheriff Bianco has violated the law.
The Hatch Act is for state and federal employees, if I'm not mistaken, and he would be a county employee.
Well, he is anticipating a run for a state office, and whether or not it falls directly to him, there are rules for any elected official that you don't use public resources when it relates to politics, including making an endorsement. And making an endorsement in a state taxpayer-funded uniform and badge would seem to violate the rules that we have about keeping politics out of the public sphere.
You're in charge of the school system. You're not the Attorney General. Why are you picking this fight? When some might say we have so many issues with the school system, why is this the priority?
Well, one, I'm never afraid to speak up when I see something that is wrong. And I've spoken out directly about something that I know to be wrong. And at the same time, I'm working hard to address all the needs of our students. You know, I'm very proud of my track record of creating preschool for every 4-year-old in our state and universal meals. We're working on an effort to make sure that all California students learn how to read by 3rd grade. You know, it has been decades for many students who have struggled with literacy, and many of those students end up in the criminal justice system. And I've been able to put resources into this state to help address literacy, and we have a great partnership with the governor and others who are allowing us to make sure that we have reading coaches for all of our kids, great training for our educators. And so part of my why for running for governor is to continue continue to work to improve education in our state, especially in the places where student success has lagged for decades. I'm taking it on directly. And Sheriff Bianco made some claims about me that were just incorrect about my legislative record. You know, I would always say to anybody, public service is hard, but let's get involved and try to make a difference for our students and build housing and address homelessness. Those are the things that I'm doing both as a state superintendent and as a candidate for governor. And I'm proud to be able to serve the people of the state.
Well, before we wrap this up, we do want to let you know that he did give us a statement in response to your Let's Debate. And he simply says, we will reach out to his team to work on the details. So there's his statement right there, plain and simple. You can expect to hear from his team. If, in fact, this does become a real thing, we hope that you will turn to us to host this debate for the two of you.
Oh, you all would be great hosts, and I'll go anywhere. We could do it on his turf. It doesn't matter to me. At the end of the day, doing what's right is what matters. And someone supporting a president who tried to overthrow our country, I think, is a threat. And it demonstrates a lack of understanding about the needs of the people of this state. And I'm going to champion those. So I'd be happy to debate him anywhere, anytime.
All right. Well, we had him last night. We had you tonight. Lots of different views here on the Fox 11 News at 6. Tony Thurman, thanks for coming on and sharing your views.
Thanks for having me on.